hello, or hello. You might have seen the Ghent altarpiece, or you might have heard about the father of oil painting. Well, that is all about me. I am Jan van Eyck, a Northern Renaissance painter. I was born between 1380 and 1395, but nobody really knows the date. They also guess that I was born in Maaseik, Holland, but that is also not clear. I have three known siblings that I grew up with: Margaret, a sister, and Hubert and Lambert, two brothers. They were all painters just like me, and Hubert and Lambert were painters that also worked with me. When I finally became an adult, I needed a job. If I had just worked as a painter, I might have not had the opportunity to work so freely and work in a large range of arts. But my salary as a court painter, diplomat, and official led me to work on works other than the commissioned one only. Of course, as I worked as a court painter, I worked with my brother in a workshop that we owned. I was an official at the court of John III, of the Duke of Bavaria. After his death in 1425, I moved to the court of Philip the Good. He was the Duke of Burgundy. His fondness of art led him to become patrons of artists such as me. I went on journeys in behalf of Philip, and most of them are not very well recorded. One that is really well recorded is my journey to Lisbon. My purpose was to draw a portrait of Philip's will-be wife, Isabella. She was a princess of Portugal. I came back to Holland 9 months later with Isabella and with a portrait of her. The couple got married on Christmas Day, 1429. As I helped the Duke to get married, I also got married. On 1432, I married a woman called Margaret. She was much younger than me, and not much is known about her. I drew a portrait of her 7 years later marriage. People guessed that she was from a lower class nobility because of the clothes she wore. We had our first child in 1434, a boy. Later, we had a daughter called Levine van Eyck, but that is the only two daughters that is known. Now, I would like to talk about my works. My religion is never clearly stated in a document. Even though the Renaissance was a very secular period, Christianity was a major religion. Many of my clients would have been Christians, and I assume that I was also one. Anyways, many of my works are iconographies, which are religious works. One of my best pieces is an iconography called the Ghent altarpiece. It is also my only iconography that doesn't center on Mary. My brother Hubert began the piece, and I finished it in 1432. It is a polytech, a painting that is a combination of several panels. In this case, 12. It shows you two different scenes, 12 when opened and 12 when closed, a total of 24 paintings. When opens, it shows Jesus in the middle with Mary and John the Baptist on the sides. It also pictures Adam, Eve, angels, and the adoration of the Lamb. When it is closed, it shows the Annunciation, which is Gabriel announcing Mary's pregnancy, and it also shows donor portraits. It is showing the client or the client's portrait in a work. You might have wondered what I am wearing. My painting, The Portrait of a Man, in 1433 is considered to be a self-portrait. Even though there is no clear evidence that the man is me, many guess so because the man is staring very clearly and gazing into the picture. It indicates that the man might be staring at a mirror drawing himself. It is also commonly called Portrait of a Man in Red Turban, which isn't exactly true because the man is actually wearing a shafran, not a turban. And lastly, one of the most famous, and probably the most famous work of mine, Arnolfini portrait. Painted in 1434, it is the painting of Giovanni di Niccolao Arnolfini and his wife, and it is a wedding portrait. He was a wealthy merchant, but not as wealthy as the aristocrats. Their wealth is very clearly shown in the portrait. The clothing that they are wearing include furs and expensively dyed garments. Multiple thin layers of paint contributed to the detailed painting. A fun fact that would be really good to know is that you can see me reflected in the mirror at the very back of the room. Many of us painters inscribe our signatures in the frames of our works. It can be the name of the painter or the motto he works by. On the frame of the Ghent altarpiece in the portrait of the man, it is the signature Als ik kan. It translates into as I can or as ik ken. Eyck sounds really similar to Ike, which is a dialect of Ike. My signature not only translates into as I can, but also as best I can. A variant of it is Jan van Eyck was here, as it is signed Jan van Eyck was here, 1434, in the frame of the Arnolfini portrait. It might seem arrogant to people, but to me it means my pride and my guarantee that my painting is good enough for my fame. Some people consider arts as a lowly job that uneducated people do for a living. But in fact, I am very educated, and I use Latin, Hebrew, and Greek. I have pride in my works and in the legacies that I left in oil painting. I died on 9th of July, 1441 in Bruges. I was buried in St. Donatian's Church, where my brother Lambert was also placed after his death. My wife Margaret was paid her last check from Philip, and my daughter Levine went into a covenant. I wish that my works and I made a change in the Renaissance art and also in the following centuries. Thank you.